Now live at Sayori Studios. We are just waiting for a guest. Hello, sir. We are live.
Hello, how are you?
Doing good. How about yourself, sir?
I am eating lunch right now.
You are eating lunch.
But
Excellent.
yes, but I'm ready to talk about the things.
You're ready to talk about the things. We are, of course, talking about Log Horizon today. And
Hmm.
we kind of had this talk when we were doing the 3x3s with Indomitable. Um, but to me, or it wasn't the 3x3, sorry, it was the anime list. Um, And I wanted to, because you are probably the only other person I know in our friend group that's actually watched Log Horizon. So I wanted to get your thoughts and like kind of make like a whole video around it because I think this show, I mean, I recently just finished it and I think it's amazing. I think there are a lot of good things going for it. Um, but then there's also a lot to talk about in terms of the other things.
Yeah.
So,
Um.
yeah, you
I
want to
guess where
start?
should actually I guess where should we start though? Because it's like it.
How,
So I think so. Context. My friend had given me like an anime list to watch because they were like, oh, like I'm more well versed in this. I can make you listen. So they made me one, and Long Horizon was on it. I landed on it. I was like, oh, cool, like a fantasy thing. Um, And so I honestly think it was the first technic or let me think of the animes I've watched. I think this is technically the first isekai I've watched,
the first
technically
isekai.
speaking. Um, I think I have actually no, I've seen, but this is like the first like real, like I guess it's like for lack of a better term, real one
Yeah.
because I think before I'd watched Konosuba and that one's more like a satire, but yeah, so I watched Log Horizon and I was like, oh cool. And I like first off, I really like its premise. I like the fact that it's just like it's like it updated the game and everyone was just like, oh, we're here now. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. It's been a while since I like finished this year because I watched it like I think a year ago ish. But from what I remember, the first thing that stood out to me was like the world in the sense that like that there were still like modern buildings there, but they're like plants and stuff, which I thought was really cool. Like design wise, I was like, that's really cool.
Mhm.
And what else? What else stood out to me?
Well, I
I
like
thought,
for me, it's interesting because you say that this is your technically gateway into isekai, not anime, but isekai, right?
mhm.
Which is really funny because a lot of people, mine included, it's Sword Art Online. So it's weird how like you actually have like because I know people who started with their gateway is Sword Art Online, but I know actually quite a few people too who started with Log Horizon first, and so you would be one of them. And I just find that interesting. That you just
Yeah,
went, like, a different path than everyone else. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
But I like the concept of like, oh, what if he it's like the Jumanji concept, which is really weird if you think about that. Jumanji
The
is
Jumanji concept.
where it's like it's low key. It's like what is it? A reverse isekai? If or honestly, like the thing that the things that are technically isekais, just by definition alone, is just really funny.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I thought it was really cool. It was like the game uh, thing, especially because like if technically speaking, and I just sort of wish they played into this more. It's really cool to see a bunch of like gamers, if that makes. It's just like obviously like not the gamer stereotype doesn't hold true for everybody, but like I
Mhm.
feel like a majority of the people who came to this world would have been like at least with the way I feel like Japan sees it, like antisocial shut-ins, which is really interesting. Like this is their chance to actually live life,
Mhm.
which I thought was cool.
Mhm.
Um,
I just like how intelligent it is. Like, none of the players are necessarily dumb. Like, the only people I think that are, like, inexperienced and, like, shouldn't really be there are, like, the literal children. Everyone else is more than capable,
yeah,
right?
and it's like that
Yeah.
makes sense. Like they're kids, like they're just
Yeah.
um I think what was it? Because what was the first season about? It was about them just like setting everything up, right?
Yeah, it was setting up the round table. And then there was like a few skirmishes here and there, but it was mostly I think just trying to establish like one the round table and two just kind of like establishing I think relations with the kingdom, right? Was that season 1?
Yeah,
Yeah. Like those were like the two big things cuz then you had that goblin attack, right? The raid, I think in season 1.
yeah.
Um but yeah, I think cuz I have the wiki up so I'm kind of cheating right now. Uh but yeah, let's see. Yeah, it's yeah, it's more for like setting up things and I don't know, to me I actually am going to be completely honest. I would have seen Log Horizon I think 3 years ago, but I watched like half of episode 1 and then immediately dropped it. Like I was not feeling it and to be fair like looking back on it like season I don't know if you feel the same way, but like season 1 of season 1 of Log Horizon for sure is it takes a while to get into cuz it's
Mhm.
like you have like well, one, you have them trying to figure out like, okay, so I'm this class and I was part of this group and this is my tax and this is how we do a formation, right? And I'm like, okay, this is kind of boring. And then they have to go rescue that girl who got basically saved by that cat person. You're like, what the heck is going on? And then you get to I think the good part, which is once they actually kind of get together and then he buys sort of the round table, right? And then establishes the round table. To me, that's where it picked up. 'Cause I think
Yeah,
everything before was I mean, it's entertaining, but that's not the real hook of the show, you know?
yeah. I was gonna say like I feel like Log Horizon is uh I'm trying to figure out a way to phrase this because it's like if there was a phenomenon, let's say like in the even like in Japan, like wherever, there's a phenomenon where a bunch of players are transported to like a video game world.
Yeah.
I feel like Log Horizon is probably the most accurate depiction. Or I don't know, you've seen sort of online, but at least for me, Log Horizon is a pretty accurate depiction of what would go on. Like some people would group together, others would, what was it, the player killers that they would go out and do that.
Yeah.
Then you'd have like the guilds, and like, I feel like that's. I think I feel like they could have condensed like the setup a little bit more and kind of
Mhm.
like uh get into like the fantasy action a little bit. But I pretty personally I like the fact that they were like exploring because I like the idea that it's not the world that they knew as a game. Like the fact that they had to adjust it. Oh, this is like the real world now. It's not like a game anymore. I thought that was cool.
Yeah. And
And my
I don't know,
favorite,
I liked how it was realistic too, like, everyone wasn't necessarily evil or good, they just had their own ambitions, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
my favorite. Hold on, my favorite thing, or not, I don't know if it's a gag, but like thing that they did was that the automatic food would taste like shit, and they had to actually like make stuff with like the chef subclass to actually for it to actually have taste, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, and also like and again like the world building I think is actually really cool because it's just I like how they utilize the idea that players can respawn and that's like like a thing only 4 players comes at a cost because I know that that's some like a hurdle a rider would have to go by. It's like, oh, how do we make the stakes feel um high without if they can just respawn? And then others were like, oh, we can respawn, doesn't matter, so they just die willy nilly. But then later in the season,
Oh,
it
yeah.
was like, oh, each time you die, you lose some of your memories of the real world.
It's like, "Wait, what the fuck?"
Yeah,
It's like, "Oh, no."
yeah, it's like, oh, damn, that's not good.
Yeah, and people are like, "Oh, yeah, I died 20 times." They're like, "Oh, wait.
Yeah,
That's not good." No,
oh,
for
yeah.
sure, for sure. I think the like to me, I like the fact that there are limitations because let's be honest, a lot of power scaling isekais, the reason why they kind of fall flat, or just anime in general too, is because there's no stakes attached. It's like you have all this power, right? What's
Hmm.
keeping you from doing what you want? And I think to your point, the memories Adding on to your point, the memories part where you lose part of your memories of your old life, not even like their new world, their old life, which is a part of your identity, right? That's something that everyone values. And so to lose that, it adds that kind of like we should stop dying, as much as we've been doing.
Yeah,
Let's not do that. um
yeah,
yeah, but I think I don't know. What you were also talking about how like the world building was great, and I think what Log Horizon did really well is that with the introduction of my personal favorite, the NPCs or actual people living in the netizens, right? The people living
yeah.
in the world, like the video game world, before the player showed up, and now they've become real, and now you're integrating that, right?
Hmm.
Like
Yeah,
I remember
I
you
like.
told me your favorite was the blonde character, right? What was his name?
Uh, I forgot his name, but yeah, my favorite like that. I love how they integrated like the NPCs as like their own entity, and even like some named characters.
Hmm.
Um, because it's just like, oh well, yeah, they're real people. And I also like the fact um that the NPCs outnumber the players, and that's why like the NPCs can't just go full on like, we're gonna take over now. It's like, oh, there's a real risk to not being friendly with the people who are already here,
Yeah.
and there was like that drive for them to like go out and actually find that connection, establish like, diplomatic relations and stuff. um
Well, also you have
but
like the
yeah,
fact that the NPCs can die permanently and the heroes can't, so it adds that dilemma where it's like you're literally dealing with like
yeah,
superheroes.
yeah, where it's like a world of regular people in a town of superheroes, but it's just like there's risk for both sides.
Yeah.
um but what was it? But yeah, the blonde haired character, the fact, what the twist that he was actually an NPC the whole time, I
Oh,
was just like,
Rudy.
oh
Rudy is
shit.
his name.
Oh, Rudy. Oh yeah.
Yeah, Rudy. That's his name. I just remembered.
He was the bard, right? He's a
Yeah,
bard.
he's the bard.
That's also what I like, that it took some D&D stuff from it.
Mhm,
So it was really nice. But yeah, the fact when he was really revealed to be an NPC, that was really like, oh, it was a twist. But like also the fact that he was like dying when they
mhm.
revealed that, I was like, oh shit.
I also like how you went from being like I'm gonna be honest, I was kind of pissed off by his character, like when he was first introduced because he was so arrogant. Like, oh my
It was
god, it's
like
just some
annoying.
like asshole gamer, and then the twist happens, and you're like, oh, he's just acting that way because he probably doesn't know how to act around normal people. Because
Yeah, he's been like,
it's literal aliens that he's dealing with, like
yeah.
foreign to like his land. Um, but no, I like how he's also like he literally goes from being like just this annoying party member to like a liaison between like the NPCs and them and like having a
Hmm.
voice whenever they're like, "Oh shoot, like why are the NPCs reacting this way?" and he'd give his input and it's actually really insightful.
Yeah, I was gonna say I still don't quite understand the spell they did to like, because it's like,
The
was he a
broken
real
spell.
person now, or I was confused with like, is he like a real person now, or is he just considered a player? If that makes it, like, does he have a body now in the real world, or is he just be able to get revived if he dies? So I thought that was like not unexplained, but I was like, oh, how does that work? Like, it was cool, but I was like, how does it work? Also, you remember that this was like later in this series, but that
Mhm.
other character who was what was the main character? Shiro's second uh
Avatar.
account, basically. Yeah,
Yeah.
that confused me. I was like, wait, what?
Do you fully understand? I think I understand it. Do you like what's your interpretation of that?
My interpretation is that like the entire game, like all the game files came to life. And
Mhm.
so if anyone had like a second account or something that also popped up, um but my thing is like, again, like I like the world building, it's just there's some parts where I'm just like, oh, it's kind of getting like
A
complicated. I
little
don't
bit
remember like
convoluted.
what.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like it was easier. Like I like the
Yeah.
idea of like the second account being like its own person, but it was also like I'm still like recovering from whatever went on with like Rudy's stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. For me, like that was kind of weird and also it didn't help too. I'm going to be completely honest. I think this was season 2. It was a bulk of season 2 actually. One of my least favorite parts and it's nothing against them was the children, right? Their party, like the youth party. To me, that was probably, in my opinion, the weakest part of Log Horizon. Just because where am I gonna go with this? Just because I don't know, personally I felt like all the interesting stuff was Shiroe and like everything he was doing, right? With the round
Mhm.
table. And then you're focusing on this one party that, has one of I think the worst part of Log Horizon, which is Minori. And she has so much screen time whenever they do it too. Cause she's like,
Yeah,
"Oh, like, I'm in love, this and that, and, like, I have to prove myself," and I'm like I mean, it's good if you mention it once, but the entire time for your entire character? I don't know. I wasn't the biggest fan of
yeah.
that.
I I'm gonna slightly disagree in the sense where it's like I liked the youth part because also like, oh yeah, there are kids in this world and they're if that make like think about it. Imagine if you're like a 10-year-old child getting sent to this world and it's your experience you can literally die and you like but there's like not no consequences, but it's like less memories, if that makes sense. Like they're younger, so they don't have as much memory to
Yeah.
as experiences to fall back
Well
on. So that also like factors in that. And like the young party is like whatever. But yeah, I agree that Minori is my least favorite part of Log Horizon, and I did not like her until she sort of. Like, I remember the episode where she confesses, and like Shiro was just like, "Yeah, I don't feel that way, and two, you're young as hell," and she's just like, "Oh, okay." And I was like, "Thank God it's over."
yeah.
I felt relief in the sense it's like, "Thank God it's over," but I also felt annoyed that it went on this long.
Yeah, yeah, no, same. But my thing isn't, like, we should take the kids out entirely because I think Rudy and basically every party member except for Minori
You know?
was good. Like, I'm gonna be honest here, that's what I think. It's just I would have preferred if they got less screen time instead, like, if they got less screen time in favor of giving the main characters more screen time, right? The characters
Yeah,
that actually matter. That's what I think.
yeah.
Like, I think we
This
gave
was
them a little too much screen time in season 2. I mean, they had their moment in season 3, which I thought was good. Like,
mhm,
them taking down that dungeon, but aside from that, no.
yeah. This like if it was just like that, if it was like a more like a montage of them adventuring and doing stuff and like getting their sharpening their skills rather than like full on arcs dedicated to them.
Well, like, or
Um,
even involve them. Like, the main arc when Rudy dies, I thought was good because it involved
mhm,
everyone. I just want more of that instead of just they're on their own adventure, you know?
yeah.
That
Also,
was just me.
that was the arc where Shiro went to like that one master dungeon, right, and had to fight those like three bosses.
I think so?
I really liked that part, or I don't know what arc that was, but I liked that adventure because I was also like it showed that Shiro wasn't like the all powerful, and neither were anyone else because they were having trouble like
Oh,
doing
no, no,
what
that's
they
not
needed to
when
do.
Rudy died. Rudy died was earlier. That was much later, and, that was in
Oh,
season I wanna say that was season 2 or season 3, but basically what happened was, he separated from the party, and everyone else was trying to kill that monster in the meanwhile, and then I think the kids were just somewhere. They were just doing something. I don't
oh
know.
no, like this was the arc where Shiro went away with with the party of like all like the most powerful people in the game, and
Yeah,
like
to
they
beat the
went
3 bosses, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Also, what was that? What's that guy with the Wolverine claws? I forgot his name,
the
but
Wolverine
I think
claws.
you know what I'm talking about, right?
Is he the guy in
The
the north with the purple hair?
yeah yeah.
Yeah, 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 I don't remember his
I
name.
love it's like Demitas or something. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
something like that.
I love his arc of angry man going to take over a town to male wife at the end
You
when
mean
he
house
becomes like
husband?
yeah or yeah house husband like what was it because when they showed up and he was like, "Oh yeah, let me ask my wife if I can go," and it was an NPC. I was like, "Oh my god," he like he settled down. Like, damn, that's good character, good growth on you, man. That was fun to see.
It's the Warmonger to house husband. That's what it is.
My favorite pipeline.
Yeah. No, no, but I think to me, what I loved about that whole arc, that was actually one of my favorites too, was like the 3 when he fought the 3 bosses to get to, the infinite gold. What I love about it is it basically like the elf, right? What was it? The silver something?
uh,
oh, Silver Sword or something. It was something like that. But their group was like when he was forming the round table, they're like, "Yeah, we're out of here, peace." And what happened was you didn't see them basically the entire time in season one, and then I think later, either season two or three, I can't remember at this point. I think it was season two. They reappear, right? And they're like, "Oh yeah, we went to the north. Like we just we just ditched the town to go somewhere else because we didn't want to be part of it." And then the fact that they were like still allies, and the fact that like so much has changed up there since last time it was just all anarchy, right?
Yeah.
Like I like that because it shows the world is moving past what's being shown. Like there's an outside world there, and it's to your point, the world building is amazing. But yeah, I don't know. I love his like transformation, and I also like he went from trying to kill kids to being like basically talked down to by his woman, which is great. I think that's good. Uh, but I don't know. What are your thoughts about the Kunie? Right, that's what it's called. The gold, that one village.
What village?
The village where they came over and they're like, oh, like there's base. It's like what if like Shiroe, one of my favorite moments is like, what if like we can get to the place that puts gold into monsters? And then they're like, there's not like he's like, there's not a place, right, or something like that. Or he's like, I'm not gonna confirm or deny that. And then he ends up beating the three bosses and finding it. Right? It was like waterfalls of gold, like
I
in that
think
dungeon.
I vaguely remember what you're talking about, but I forget where that plot point leads.
It well, what happens is though he gets it, but then he ends up like saying like, I want to buy it not to monopolize it, but return it to the people of the land so no one could take advantage of it. And so he makes a contract basically stating that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
it was
It
like
took you a second.
where do the monsters get their money? And he was then he goes to the source. Also yeah, I love how this is what's it called? How colonialism should have gone. They should have been like, damn, let's not fuck over the people of the
The
land.
people of the land. Well, I like to me what was so telling is that Cooney, the member of like that the village, right, was there. Like he knew how to get there. So he basically lied to Shira. And he was basically like terrified, right, that he made it. And
Mhm.
then it's only because of his words like, don't worry, we're not gonna do anything. And then later, which I thought was one of the highlights of this show for me in season three, was when they reformed the round table but include members of the land, right?
Yeah.
And I thought that was oh my oh my goodness, that was amazing. Like just I love I don't know. One of the things to me why I think Lug Horizon works so well is because of Shiroe. Because he's very realist. He's a realist, but he's also like an optimist, right? He has goals
Hmm.
and he just sees them fulfilled, even though they may seem impossible. He just needs to
Yeah.
use his brain. Which which speaking of, what do you think of the whole destruction of the round table in season three? Did you think what were your thoughts on that?
Uh, my thoughts. I was low key let down because I was like, oh shit! Like the opening had like the destruction of the round table. It was literally called the destruction like that season, destruction of the round table. And I thought it was gonna be like an attack or something, but it
Mm.
was just like no, it was actually just in your mind the whole time.
Mhm.
I was it was because I forget because I know that the actual building and stuff didn't blow up or anything because that was like the green thing. But do they end up disbanding or no? Right?
So,
I don't remember.
oh no. So what happens is like half the members I think leave or something like that. Like a little less than half the members leave, and they're just like, yeah, we're just gonna replace everyone who left with members of the people of the land. And then so
Okay.
to make it more equal, and people were happy with that. But yeah, I think I don't know. For me, I was kind of disappointed too because I thought destruction of the round table meant like before like looking at what the teaser was when you actually watch season three, I thought it meant like because they were hyping up this war right with what was it, Okinawa or something, like the city in the west, right, with the other adventurers
Uh
that were going to war, right, with
oh
that the war
no
train.
No way. It was Okinawa. That was the server.
I think so. What? No, no, you don't
That's
know what I mean though. You know the other place, right? With that
I
weird,
know what
yeah.
you mean, but I was that'd be really ironic and kind of shitty on Japan's part if they
Well,
made
I don't think it's
Okinawa the
Okinawa.
villain.
It's something. I mean, I may be right. I may be wrong. I can't remember the name.
But yeah, I know what you're talking
But
about.
like,
Other
I
also,
thought the
which is
destruction of the Round Table was them going to war, and that doesn't happen. I mean, you had that
yeah,
fight in season 2, but like after that, it's like basically not mentioned.
yeah.
But
Also,
like,
I was also
yeah.
confused about like the other servers. There's just like we need like ring lights or something to get otherwhere. I was like, what?
Oh,
I just
that was confusing. The like
yeah.
when Krusty just dipped out of nowhere, um, like because what was it, like a sword lit up and then just teleported him with this
Oh
girl's
yeah, because
arm randomly somewhere.
everyone thinks he died, and then oh yeah, because he brings the girl's arm back.
But like, and it's weird too because her arm is gone. So technically, what this world establishes is you could literally dismember people and just send their body parts to other servers, and they can't regenerate it. They have to get it back.
Yeah, I also want to like,
Yeah,
does
that's
she have to
crazy.
die to get it back, or I don't know.
Well,
But
he's
yeah,
bringing it back. He's bringing it back.
well, yeah, I
Yeah.
know, but like, if she died, would she have like an extra arm?
Well, no, she has the
Um,
mechanical arm. You remember?
yeah,
Yeah,
but
because
you know what I mean. Like, if she were to die and get revived, would the arm come back with
well,
her?
they
Like,
said
if
that
she
she
could.
died and it's still the same.
Oh,
It
okay.
doesn't
I was like,
regenerate because her arm is gone.
yeah, but yeah, the different servers was confusing as hell because I was like, what? Especially when they were like the other shit was happening on these different servers. What
Mhm.
was the frog ninja guy? I was like, oh, he's cool. And like
No, it
the
wasn't a frog.
former leader,
It was a oh, it was a turtle, right?
I just know it was a TMNT reference.
Yeah, it was a TMNT reference. Yeah, I think it was either a turtle or frog. But yeah, he was. I thought he was cool, and I like how what's her face the one that he's always talking about.
It's like Nanami, right?
Nanami, thank you. Yeah, Nanami. Nanami, I think Nanami is really cool. Um, and I do like the fact that he had feelings for her. And I'm gonna be completely honest, I don't actually really care for the ninja girl. I like Nanami and his chemistry more, even though we've barely seen any of it.
I looked it up. It's Konami.
Or
I
economy or
missed a
something.
letter.
Yeah, economy. But I don't know. I like her. I love her like demeanor. She's just kind of like, we're gonna do it. And like, although he was like the brains of like, what was it? The Tea Party. That's what they called themselves. Like the
Hmm.
debauchery Tea Party for like I think like before the show actually started. I like how she was the leader. You can tell why she's the leader. And then she's also making her way to Japan just to see him. I thought that was really cool. But we still don't know. We still haven't had that moment where they actually meet again, which I'm still disappointed by for sure. Um but yeah, no, I think so we have I don't know, there's so many great things about Log Horizon, but for me, like looking back at the show and we've already talked about lots of the plot points but for me personally, I think 28. Sorry, I'm like trying to keep track of all these time things when we're talking. Uh but no, but for me personally, what I think um the reason why I think Log Horizon's a very tough sit through for a lot of people is cuz for every I think it's a 50-50 show, if you know what I mean. Where half of it is really really good, but the other half like kind of drags it down, you know?
Hmm.
Like for everything it does right, it does something couple missteps. Like one, I think we already talked about it. The big one was it being convoluted. Like it gets so detailed with its lore and mechanics that sometimes you can also lose track of what makes sense or what is in like the basis of the game, right? With like
Yeah,
Rudy and stuff. And then I think also like at times too the pacing can be a little bit wonky and Minori I think is also one of the biggest flaws of the show. Just her character is
yeah.
just so annoying. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on? I think just looking back over everything.
Uh, everything considered, I really like the show. I do agree it has like pacing issues and stuff. Um, but I think it was. a nice dip into like fantasy and whatnot, like fantasy isekai, like that, just that in general.
Hmm.
Because I also like how it does like, despite its pacing issues, I like how it does slow down to have like for them to do like festival. Because again, like this is essentially real life now. It's not just
Yeah.
adventures 24/7. Because my my somewhat gripe with other isekais, at least the ones that I've seen, or like fantasy, are the ones that I've seen where it's just like just one character who's like maybe one or two characters who are like poor as hell. They're just like, and it's not like, oh, being poor as that. It's just like that idea of like community, if that makes sense.
The idea of community.
Or a lot of the time, it's like just one guy against like the entire or something, or it's like they don't really care for him. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
like the fact that everyone here like pitches in, and it's just like, ah, yes, we are. I forgot what festival it was, but they did like a festival episode. I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like that they were like working together to like do something to make it feel like home. And
Yeah,
I was like, that's really
I mean,
cool.
I love the festival. I'm not talking about like pacing issues with that. I'm talking specifically more season 2 and 3 with like for example, like the was it the group Log Horizon group, like the kids going on their
Yeah.
quest. I thought that was like there were times where it was good when they were like talking, but other times when they were just talking about like, when they were traveling and they kind of dragged that on. I just thought that could have been sped up, and then I think season 3 kind of rushed through a lot of things I thought should have had more time on them. But I don't know. That's what I refer to. I think the festivals were great. No, I think to me, when fantasy shows really excel, and shonen too, is when they become slice of life. Like you have these characters who are in action, right? They're doing these awesome things, but you also want to see what they're like off the battlefield, you know. And to your point, I
Hmm.
think the festival. I thought one, it introduces like a really great concept of just restoring life within a video game setting, right? Because they're basically trapped there. But also the fact that it's also like means to an end. Like the stalls are to build the community to make the area seem safe when they're being ambushed by that one, bureaucrat, from the people of the
Hmm.
land, right? Shiroe fights back using like clever tactics, So I think,
Also,
yeah, that was cool.
I wanted to ask your opinion about Log Horizon's Hero Killer arc. That's what I call it because I was like, that's basically what it was.
What hero killer arc? Or is
Remember,
it?
I think it was the bureaucrat or like the guy who like takes over the armor that can kill or where like it soaks up player damage or something. You know what I'm saying? Like how like if two players start like fighting within like the city ranges, like these like knights come
Oh
out and they're
wait,
just like,
yeah, yeah.
no.
Wait. Is it the guy who takes the armor, and then they have
Yeah.
to break the? Okay, I looked at a comment. People were very upset that they basically shut down the shields, just to beat that one guy, right? So he
Hmm.
couldn't escape. I thought, yeah, I think to me that was a dumb move. But to be fair, and I think it's actually a merit of the show. This is technically realistic because they didn't have Shiroe, helping them because he was fighting literal 3 bosses, right?
Yeah.
During that raid. I think that was just basically like a good move. Like, I mean, it's just a move that they would make, if they're not strong enough, right? To the fact that they have to resort to shutting on the shields to beat him. There's no other way, you know. That's probably what they had to resort to. So I was actually fine with that. I had more issues with the fact that it took so long. And I didn't like too how it was like 2 simultaneous events and you had to watch one event play out before watching the other. So, for example, you had to see, I think, them taking down the knight in armor, um, till that finished, and then you got to flashback to see what happened during the raid. I didn't like that.
Hmm.
I thought
Yeah. What
if
was
you
gonna
had
say
spliced that together, then it would have been better.
yeah, my thing with stuff like that where it's like it's fine to diverge your characters on different paths, but like also sometimes I have to be careful about like um it seeming like two different storylines happening at the same time. Because like a lot of times I feel like especially with and this is like it's a different genre, but like sitcoms, for example, like they have
Yeah.
different storylines, but they always manage to tie in somehow.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what a lot of like writers of different genres sometimes fail to remember. It's just like, oh, you kind of have to like tie it all together, even if it's like something minimal, like because it's also because again they're like fighting for their lives and the thing, and then you're just like, oh cool, like what's gonna happen? Then boom, we're back to Shiro. We're like, oh cool, is he gonna beat the bosses? Then boom, we're whisked back to the guy in the night suit. I'm just like, oh okay.
I guess not. No, I
But yeah,
just
I was always wondered like how did he get the armor? Like they always said that he just got it, but I was never satisfied with their answer. I forgot
well
what they
he was
said.
a member. So I think the way they described it was he was a member of the Kunie village, right? I think I'm probably saying that wrong, but the people of the land who control the gold. So he was a member of their village, and then he stole the armor from them because I think it was up on display or something. That's the
Mm,
explanation they gave, is that he was basically a defector, and
yeah,
then he was terrorizing them. I don't think it's like a good one. We don't really see it happen too. It's more just explained to us, and I think overall, like
yeah,
the arc served no purpose than to show that the town could stand on its own without Shiroe, right? But at the same
hmm,
time, it's like it just to me it felt pointless because you saw two things happening at once, back to back, and not like interspliced. That was just that was the biggest issue for me at least.
yeah.
But yeah.
I wasn't a big fan of that either. It was just like, oh, it's just them like cutting back and forth,
Mhm,
especially when it was I would have preferred like I forgot what show it is, but they'll like if they ever do like a completely different storylines, like one episode would be dedicated to them making significant progress
mhm.
towards one goal, and the next like it'll like the end like the last 5 minutes will like cut back just like, oh, I wonder how Shiro's doing, and then it's just like boom, it cuts back to like that like him being like beat up. He's like, oh no, I can't. And then the next episode is them uh exploring like his side of the story or whatever.
Yeah, I think they could have done a better job of mirroring it because if you think about it, they're both groups at the time are facing off against this impossible threat, and you could mirror it like, oh, they weren't able to succeed this episode, and so they like learn together almost, right? Even though they're in two
Hmm.
separate things on how to beat this big impossible threat. I thought that would have been better executed than what was given. I mean, I understand why they did it. It's just I wasn't a fan of the execution, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on I don't know. What are your thoughts on just sort of it's gonna be I'm gonna flash back a little bit to the relations between the kingdom and Akihabara. Like
Which one?
when
Oh yeah,
when
that's
they first
oh,
came over and sent representatives because they're like, yeah, so your adventures and we see you built a settlement, so let's talk diplomacy.
uh I thought it was cool. I was like, this is neat. Um, I always wish we could see more of the people of the land in action. Does that
Mhm,
make sense? For them like mobilized against like a different threat that's affecting them, and then they like, oh, it'd be nice if we had the heroes help, you know, or
mhm,
like maybe like them being like being able to handle something on their own. Because I remember the episode where it's just like, oh, get Krusty to come over here and like train our soldiers. I was like, well, were they not already trained?
mhm,
And also, I always always when it's like, oh, because Rusty clearly it's like, oh, someone of the land can access the powers that the heroes can do. Like they can do the spells and they can have a class and whatnot. So it's like, why can't the rest of them do that? You know what I'm saying? Or it's just like the only drawback at that point is that they can only die once. You know,
mhm. Yeah,
so it's like, why wouldn't they learn skills like that? I don't know if they ever mentioned it. They probably again, it's been a while since I watched it,
yeah.
but I'm always like, what is the like what's the word for it?
I
What are the rules here if that makes it like what like
I think they
who can or can't learn
well
magic or
I
whatever?
think they may have explained it when they talked to that one guy. That was like the hermit, right, underneath the kingdom. When he shows up, you think he's gonna be like a villain, right? That they're gonna have to fight, and he just turns out to be some weird dude that just has all this knowledge about like what happened, right, during the events. He has like that crown. He looks like old, and he's like kind of like is that like what is it like? he like works under the candlelight and he like talks about like the different events that caused the world to shape with like the entrance of the heroes to the development of the heroes, right? I think they explained it that uh the heroes are the only ones who can use magic. But it's like very brief and I'm not entirely sure they say that. It's like something weird with that. Like the people of the land can't do that. But I'm trying to think what else. There's also the well, what I do like though about that whole exchange though is that the when the attack happens, right? With that ambush and it's like up to the what is it? The adventurers and then the kingdom to team up to beat the goblins from invading, right? Cuz they forgot
Mhm.
to beat the event that kills the goblins cuz they were fighting each other, right? I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
But no, I think everything to me my favorite part was the kingdom. Like everything with the kingdom with Krusty and the princess. I thought was really well handled. And it was also funny too cuz like they're like we have to make you dance Shiroe, right?
Yeah.
I thought that was really funny too. Oh, what did you think about that new girl that was introduced? And I think season
Which
2, the idol. That's a boy.
the idol that's a boy?
Yeah, the pink hair girl that keeps bugging like the bodyguard. Like the tank
Oh,
character.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
yeah. I know what
yeah,
you're talking
yeah.
about.
It's
Uh, I didn't really care for her, or wait, it was. Oh wait, it's a girl avatar boy player, right?
yeah, I think that's what it is.
I wasn't. I didn't really care. I didn't care for her. I was like whatever. And at least gave it wasn't like Natsu, right?
Yeah,
I said it at least gave Natsu something to do
I
because
think so. Yeah.
like Natsu was fine, but it was also like this lucky kind of boring because he didn't really do much. He was just the shield. If that makes sense. Like there wasn't much to his character, which is very unfortunate because he did have some good
Well,
good like what was it, chemistry with Shiro and whatnot.
yeah. Well, what I will say is I liked her introduction, even though he's a guy. I liked her introduction, because um, I don't know. I thought it was funny when she would like bring up relationships and stuff. Because although I did not like her, what she quote unquote like acted like, I did like how she was progressing the relationships by being like, "Why aren't you guys honest? Like, tell them." Like, I thought that was pretty funny. Is that she was like trying to push them to do it.
Mhm.
Oh, but okay, I want to actually switch. Not we're gonna switch from her, and we're gonna go straight to your favorite character, which is the cat person. What's his name?
Oh fuck! I don't remember. I know his dub voice actor is very actually. I don't know if I ever looked it up in sub. I have to look this up. Hold on. Cat guy. I think it started with an N. Cat guy. Log Horizon. Oh, Nyanta
Nyantan.
or Nyanto. Nyanta. Again, I love the fact that he dual wields rapiers, and I'm just like, damn, what good uh what was it, that fight on the train? Hell yeah. Excuse me.
Yeah. I mean,
Fucking
I
love
don't
that
know. I
one.
love the fact that he shows up and let's be honest, he carries the show too. Like if he wasn't there, like none of the things in the show would have been able to be happen. Like he's a good wingman to have, like a
Mm,
right-hand man. Cuz like think about it, he's like, "Oh, I have the skill where I can make good food. I have he's good at fighting, the way he presents himself, like the fact that he puts his trust into Shiroe to form Log Horizon, right? Like I
mhm.
thought all that stuff was really cool.
Yeah, I would say I fucking that cat guy. Yes, I agree.
I will say though, I'm still waiting for that moment when that little girl gets rejected by Nyantan because she's also very annoying, like Minori. See,
Wait, which
I just
other?
want both the pink
Oh,
hair
oh,
girl, yeah,
the
the one that's like yeah, a child too. Like, please just put her down. I'm sorry. Just put her down, please. I don't want this implication like to last, even though I know nothing's gonna happen. No,
yeah.
I think I thought he was really cool too. Like his, yeah, again, the train fight was really cool, and I don't know. I just want more. I want more of him, and I want more of Shiroe in the story. So hopefully we get more of that with later seasons. Which, by the way, do you know why there's no season 4?
Yes, but only because you told me.
Oh wait, did I? Okay. Well,
Oh,
for
do you want?
people listening, the reason why there's no season 4 is because they caught up to the manga or are very close to catching up to the manga. So that's why they stopped production. And last time I checked, which was last year's, people were saying they don't even have enough material to make another season. So that's why no season 4 yet. If you're wondering why, but I don't know. For me, like, do you want to move over to predictions of season 4? Like, what do you think's gonna
Uh,
happen if you remember enough?
yeah,
Yeah, because we end with, well, we end really abruptly. Like they beat the what is it? The person who can make the town a dungeon, right?
yeah,
And then it's like, oh, well, where's like one, you have the different groups converging on their town, both good and bad, right? So you're wondering if like the worst season 4, which I think it could. I think the war could break out in season 4.
yeah. Because what was Log Horizon? Is it a manga or a light novel?
I want to say my gut says light novel, but let me check.
Because I feel like it's a light novel that.
Light novel, yeah, you're right. Light novel.
It's a light novel. All right.
Oh, it's on hiatus. No, that's
Yeah,
why it's on hiatus.
it's gonna
God
be even
damn
longer until we
it.
get a season 4.
Yeah, it's looking less likely, but I don't know. If there was a season 4, I would like them to actually do the war and actually blow up the round table like they said in season 3, please. Like I
Hmm.
want to see destruction. I want to see them suffer and then
Yeah,
have to overcome it because I think that would be really
yeah.
cool.
I want to see the war, but also I want to see more backstory on the villains. Because also it's like there's technically like no clear villains. Like I know that the people on the other server are up to no good, but it's also like in my mind, I'm just like, well, why? What's their goal here? Like, what are they doing? Like, why are they like evil Knievel and just like, haha, we're gonna mess things up? It just felt like we're like also like the fact that we would just like dip in and out sometimes. I was just like, well, why if we're not gonna set them up? It's just them being like evil. It's just them like laughing at themselves.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't know. I would love more explanation on that. I think Log Horizon has potential to be even like get even crazier if they one flesh out the world. I think and explain some things a little bit better, right? In terms of how things work, with like rewriting the rules, right? Um, but also like fleshing out the backstories of a lot of quote unquote major players in the future. But anyways, do you have any closing thoughts, good sir, about like whether people or how about this? We'll end with these closing thoughts. Would you recommend Log Horizon to people? Yes.
Yes, I would. But I think I would also like not warn them, just be like, oh, like just keep in mind what you're getting into because it's like it's easy to get sucked into like the fantasy part of it, but it's also like I've said this before, but Log Horizon is like the Phantom Menace of fantasy and isekai because it's like does it have pretty dope ass fights? Yes, it does, but it also has a lot of unnecessary politics. Uh, or not politics, but like, you know what I mean, like uh well, it's not dealing with real world issues, but you know what I mean, like in world where it's just like, yes, the trade federations. We're just like, well, okay, why do we need to know about this?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would recommend it. I like, I've been like on and off about rewatching it only because like, oh, if it does come out, I might rewatch like the last season before I continue.
Mhm.
Um, but also I have other stuff. Anyways, but yeah, I would recommend it to somebody, but it's also like I would probably recommend it uh as like more like a soft recommend. Like if this was someone's first anime, I wouldn't like choose it for them because this is the type of anime where I'd recommend based on what I know of the person. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like there's some animes where you just like recommend regardless of who you're talking to, and there's other animes where you're just like, oh yes, like
For
uh
peculiar tastes,
this is for
right?
you. Yeah, this is for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm in the same boat. Like this show is not going to be for everyone. Absolutely not. But if you're into some really interesting like writing in terms of world building, in terms of like like to me, I think this is one of an example, like a really good example of how to do sort of politics and foreign interests in anime, where you have not necessarily good and bad, just people vying for power. You know,
Hmm.
um, so if you're into that, I would say absolutely give it a shot. I will say it does take a while to get into it. I dropped it, like I said. I will say it takes around maybe 4 to 5 episodes to truly before it really gets good. But once you get to that point, you'll be golden. Um, but yeah, I think that's any other thoughts, Misael slash Dadudit?
No, none that come to mind.
None. All right. So that ends today. So thank you, Dadudit, for joining me on Log Horizon. We've talked for a while, and we got
Yeah,
lots of. I have so many time codes too. Just
nice.
based on what we talked about. But anyways, thanks for watching. This will be on my YouTube channel, so people who are watching later, you can check that out. Time code description. So if you want to check out a certain talking point we discussed, go ahead. Once again, Minori sucks. She's the worst part, and I'll catch you later.
Agreed.
Peace.
Peace.
She is the worst part. I'm sorry.